Long before you met your husband, long before you met your boyfriend, long before you met your boss, long before you met those colleagues that you work with, maybe men you collaborate with, whether it is in the workplace or whether it is in churches or business, there is another man who has had a very strong influence on you as a woman and has impacted how you interact with the men in your life. Now, for most of us women, we honestly believe that our image of men is shaped by our husbands, by our boyfriends, and by those experiences that we have had with them. Now, there's a little bit of truth there, but that's not where the journey started. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about this one man who seemed to have so much influence on how we interact with the other men in our life. Welcome to the Motivate to Elevate podcast. I am your host, Coach Corey, and today we are going to be talking about our relationship with our fathers and how that has had a great impact on how we relate with other men. Did you know that the relationship with your father matters way more than you may even realize? I know nobody told us that. See, take me for example. I had a very interesting relationship with my father. As a very young girl, he had serious anger issues. I come from a family where my father had little bits and glimpses of goodness in him. On one hand, he would be friendly to me as a young girl, and on the other hand, he would turn around, beat mom, beat my siblings, beat myself to a pulp. Okay, totally abusive, serious anger issues, and then later abandon us, start a new family, and somehow I'm supposed to be okay with that. I don't know if you can see where I'm going. And today I want us to really talk about how the relationships with our fathers have a direct impact on how we choose spouses, what we're looking for in a spouse. Do we have the capacity to even see that goodness in somebody else? Do we have the capacity to really call red flags? And what does the healthy father-daughter relationship look like? Now, I do want to have a quick disclaimer. The father is not the only person who will influence you and how you relate with the men in your life. That said, he is a major influence. Our mothers also play a role. Our relatives also play a role. All I'm saying though is our primary influence is our father. And that is because men play a very important role. Let me rephrase that. Fathers play a very critical role. And I wish fathers, if there's any father watching this, I wish you could understand how critical you are to the success of your children, both the girl child and the boy child. The problems we are seeing in society really can be traced back to the breakdown of the family. Today, I'm going to focus on the girl child because that's the space I am familiar with, but that's not to say that the boy child does not need his father. We all need our fathers, and there's a reason God put fathers in families. And unfortunately, many of our fathers have not understood their place. They are not supposed to be this commander-in-chief. There's more to a father, okay? And daddies, I want to first of all salute you. I want to honor you. And I also want us to lean in and let's have a for real conversation. Because let me tell you, Father's Day was just the other day. I'm recording this in July, so Father's Day was in June. And I can tell you for free, anytime Father's Day rolls around, I cannot begin to tell you how many women get triggered because they don't know how to honor their fathers, because so many have trauma issues because of some very unhealthy relationships with their fathers. But today is not about blame. I just want us to have a conversation and create an awareness for both the daughter and the father, so that we can have an understanding of what it's going to take for our daughters to live healthy lives and have healthy relationships, and for us as daughters to understand why we choose the kind of men we choose, and to evaluate the kind of relationships we have had with our fathers. Because unless we understand that, I kid you not, many of us are going to continue operating in masculine energy and doing things in a way that does not serve us, okay? Now, one of the things that I want to really talk about is, what was God's plan? Because God is a father, right? And one of the things I really want us to understand is, when God created fathers, he was creating an extension of himself. So when you are a father, you are really representing a dimension of the fatherhood of God. And so the fatherhood of God is something that many of us have not understood. We're going to use the acronym BLESS, okay? BLESS. And we're going to use that to understand what fatherhood is supposed to look like and what happens when it is done in a healthy way. Let's start with the B in BLESS. B stands for belonging. Now, a father gives you a sense of belonging, right? And when you have a father, a good and a healthy father, he makes you know that this is where you belong. You're one of mine. You have a place to call home. And what's God's design for us? Belonging gives us identity. And when we have that identity, we know who we are. We take on our father's last name. And in fact, so many women proudly carry their father's name into marriage. And in this day and age, many women are like, I'm not sure I want to change my name to my husband's name. They want to proudly carry their father's names, right? Why? Because there is an identity that comes with a daddy. There's a loving, there's just something that comes that gives you such a sense of grounding. When you have a healthy relationship with your father, you're grounded. And that's what God intended. It helps a child know who they are. And guess what it tells that child? I see you. Full transparency here. I had no issues dropping my father's name. You know why? I never felt I belonged. And so when I got married, I honestly couldn't wait to pick my husband's name. In any case, I love my husband's name, Bashia. I mean, just even hear the sound of it. Nothing against my dad, but our relationship was not healthy. Remember, it was dysfunctional, right? A grounded father gives a child a sense of belonging. And he tells that child, I see you, you're mine. So what happens when a child does not get that? That child goes to look for identity elsewhere. That child goes to look for belonging elsewhere, and not necessarily in healthy spaces. Is it a wonder that we see children joining gangs, having wrong companions? That child is easily a people pleaser. Why? Because they have lacked that sense of belonging from the person who could have given it to them. That child is in constant need of validation, because instead of hearing I see you, what they're hearing is I need to do something to be seen. And they question their own identity. Am I enough? Am I good enough? Right? Now, and what is L? L is love in our BLESS acronym. L is love. A healthy father-daughter relationship brings love. That child feels loved. That daughter feels loved. And when a daddy loves his daughter, let me tell you, that girl grows up with so much confidence. She knows that my daddy got my back. Daddies out there, does your daughter feel my daddy got my back? If you're a daughter, Do you feel your daddy got your back? That's how you know whether you even have a healthy relationship with your dad, right? God designed fathers to love and to provide that acceptance, the affection, the encouragement, that emotional connection. And guess what? When a child feels loved, they don't feel the need to perform. And so parents, can I just speak to you for a minute? Now, many of us grew up in a time when you needed to perform so well in school. And if you performed well, guess what? You were recognized. And if you did not perform well, you were not recognized. In fact, you were chastised. Guess what we are teaching children? Performance. Now, is there a need to do well? Yes, there is. But you cannot peg affirmation with performance. You're sending the wrong message to that child. And so if your daughter feels that the only time she is loved is when she performs, is when she brings a good report card, she's going to kill herself performing. She's going to keep trying to perform to please you because she's not feeling loved unconditionally. And so for you as a parent, because this episode is to dads, yeah, I really would love to implore you in loving your children, in loving your daughters, that they would not feel that love is based on performance. That is not the message you want to send. They are going to live life trying to be validated. When that child does not feel loved unconditionally, and the test is when your children disappoint you, when your children don't do what they're supposed to do according to you, when your children do some crazy stuff, right? As a daughter, have you been disciplined and felt loved at the same time? Can you look back to your childhood and say, I know I messed up. That one I know I messed up. And I deserved that. But my father still loved me. So we need to be careful in sending that message, that as a father, you're showing love in discipline. The Bible says God disciplines those he loves. So those boundaries, creating those boundaries for children, that when later on in life they look back, they can honestly say, I'm so glad I was not allowed to do XYZ because that protected me. Instead of them looking back to say, oh my goodness, I was abused. And there's some rules sometimes we put in families that even don't make sense to the children. You're as a dad, you're living out your traumas, Sometimes we beat our children because we are seeing our own traits in them, So I really want to challenge us, both as parents and as adults who are daughters. When unconditional love is missing, this is what's going to happen. Love becomes performance. We become overachievers because we're trying to be seen. We want to be achievers because we have a goal. We're going somewhere. We don't want to have unhealthy achieving because we're trying to be validated. We fear failure so much that we would rather live unhealthy lives, working ourselves crazy so that we don't fail, because we don't want to be invalidated. We fear abandonment. And so we are going to be there performing in relationships so that we are not left. You compromise on your values and on your standards. Why? Because you don't want to be abandoned. How many times have you done something that you shouldn't have done just to fit in? Yeah. Even with friends, those are not your values. You know better. You compromise on your walk. You compromise even at work. You compromise in your relationships. That's not you. But you need to fit in. Why? You're trying to earn acceptance. Acceptance should never be earned. Okay? So now, praise celebrates what you do. Love celebrates who you are. So where are you? So let's talk about the E. A healthy daddy-daughter relationship establishes you. It creates a safe space for you to grow. It combines security with direction. By that point where you're being established, you have a trust relationship with daddy. So when daughter comes to daddy, she trusts that her daddy knows best. When daddy says to daughter, he knows that he has the best interest of his daughter at heart. It has to be a relationship that has been nurtured so that when daddy is establishing his daughter for her future, he is comfortable with the woman she is becoming. And even when she has to make decisions for herself, daddy knows I have taught her well. Whether it is how to handle money, whether it is how to dominate male spaces in her femininity, whether it is how she should be treated because she has seen how daddy treats mommy. Because daddy also takes daughter out for dates and has taught her how to be treated. One of the things I really applaud my husband for being able to do is being that family man who has always been there for his daughters. My husband has never missed a parents' day. My husband has never missed a school meeting. If he has missed it, he was not in the country or something like that. He was very far, but not that he was home physically and just thought he would not go. And that presence, I see how much more secure my children are and how more assertive they are and confident they are in their relationships with men, because of the contribution of a present father in their lives. And they will not hesitate to call on him for certain things. Daddy, I need this. Daddy, I need that. So what am I saying? That when there is a healthy daddy-daughter relationship, even the men in their lives know that this child comes from a healthy background, a healthy relationships. There's a level of accountability. Now, for some of us, even when we are getting married, there's no father to bring your man to. So that as a daughter, you get that affirmation. That affirmation that, this is yes or no. So what am I saying? A good daddy-daughter relationship helps that daughter get established. She has emotional safety. She has security. She has wisdom. She has understood the boundaries. She has direction. She knows where she's going. And she grows up, in the integrity. And of course, when it's missing, there is distract, hyper independence, poor boundaries, a lot of confusion. And then there is a fear for healthy authority, because remember, a father is authority in the life of that child and in the home. A healthy authority. I'm not talking about unhealthy authority. Where there's unhealthy authority, you get rebellion. Just because you're in the house does not mean you have a healthy relationship with your daughters. And so dads, I really want to speak to us. Remember, you want your daughter to be a wife one day, right? And so what are you doing? How are you relating? Not just with her, but with her mother. What is she seeing? Because I'll kid you not, your children take more based on what they have seen than what you even tell them. Like myself, even though my father tried to be nice to me, the fact that he was abusive to my mother and I watched him beat my mother stayed with me. And it formed how I related with the man that would later become my husband. And I had such a mistrust because of the things I saw my father do. My father, took all the family resources and my mother had to start from scratch. What do you think that did to me? What are you doing in your own home? What have you seen your father do, ladies? And I want to speak to us because subconsciously, these things are what shape our belief systems. And when we don't understand these things, we end up doing things and making decisions and not understand where we are coming from. And more often than not, we feel very misunderstood. Okay, so I want us to understand that when we have a healthy relationship, we can recognize healthy masculinity. But when we don't have a healthy relationship, we don't even know a good man when he stands in front of you, because you've never experienced it. You don't know what healthy masculinity looks like. You are suspicious of everybody. Even when someone is trying to be good to you, you don't know that they're trying to be good to you. You are looking at them with a side eye. Are you too good to be true? And I have listened to women who have really good husbands, but I listen to them, and when I examine their father-daughter relationship, I can see that the problem is not their husband. Even though the man may have his own issue, okay? Many of us, we have our own daddy-daughter trauma that we have not dealt with. Now, I'm not putting blame. Please do not misunderstand me. All I'm saying is we need to be aware of where we are coming from, ladies. Okay? And I want daddies to be aware how important a role that they also play in the lives of their daughters. Of course, all their children. In this case, I'm speaking to the daddy-daughter relationship. So what is S? Strengthen. Preparing you for life. What is God's design? Build confidence. Daddies should be calling out gifts, helping develop healthy character, encouraging, challenging with love, making you break limitation, pushing you. Because remember, men are representative of the masculine dimension of God, getting you out of comfort zone, breaking limiting mindsets. And when it is done in a healthy way, the sky is not the limit. There's a whole universe that is beyond. And what happens when it's missing? That's where we get self-doubt. We play small, we play safe, right? We fear stepping out into our place of purpose. We wait for permission. We need to be given permission to thrive. And we do not feel adequate enough. So what happens? What am I saying? Healthy fathers don't make children dependent. They make them strong in a healthy way. And our final S in bless, they send. And they're saying to you, go. I believe in you. They bless. They release you. They empower you. They may even open an account for you or give you a gift to get you started. They celebrate your strength. And when they hand you over to your husband, that husband knows that he's putting on very big shoes to fill. Because this girl is coming from a safe place. And she feels loved. And she has attracted the kind of man who represents where she's coming from. And the kind of man who can love her unconditionally. Because she's secure in who she is. And this man now is not threatened by her success. And in fact is taking her on as a co-worker, as a helper. What is a helper? Because men carry the vision. They are given, God gives them the seed of the future, of where they should go. The woman is the implementer. That's why you have so many women who say, we need to buy a shamba, we need to do this, we need to do this. Ideally, in the perfect world, the man was given the vision, the big picture. The woman sees the details of how to do this thing. And so when you have a healthy father-daughter relationship, you have a powerhouse for a woman who is operating in feminine energy, but is not afraid of healthy masculinity. A woman who makes an amazing partner. A woman who in the workplace is not intimidated by her male colleagues. She just brings her femininity, not sexuality, but femininity to the boardroom. She provides insight that they cannot bring because she understands that her femininity is her superpower. And she provides solutions that the men could not have seen on their own. And so she brings value that they recognize we need this kind of thinking in the boardroom. I don't know if I'm making sense to you ladies. And so because of that, she is attracted to the secure men. Because secure men do not compete with the women in their lives. What do? They call the greatness out of them. In fact, they love it. They celebrate it. They know they need it. And so in closing, I just want to say, every father leaves something behind. The question that I have for us today is not whether your father influenced you. The question is, how did he influence you? What has he left behind? Because as you're watching this, you're an adult. Whether your father is living or not, your father has already influenced you, whether positively or negatively. And so I want you to ask yourself these questions. Who told you who you are? And apart from the roles that you play, whether you're a mom, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a daughter, a sister, a wife, who are you outside of those roles that you play? And what has influenced your belief system in understanding who you are? My next question to you is, do you believe you need to earn love? Do you live in the land of performance, constantly giving of yourself and your resources to be seen and to feel validated? That you never miss a fundraiser, that whenever you're called upon to help, you're there running, even when you know you shouldn't. Even though you are busy with your own life, you're the one who's always being called upon, but you don't know how to say no. Do you feel safe in relationships? Are you established? How do you feel about men? Do you feel men are safe? Or do you see men as predators? What is your viewpoint? What's your mindset? Do you believe in the gifts that God has placed in you? Do you even know them? Are you living in the confidence of the gifts and the person that God created? Or are you still waiting for permission to thrive? Are you walking boldly in your purpose? Who has taught you how to navigate life? How are you using your gifts? And do you believe God has equipped you? Whichever of those 5 questions have caused you to pause and to think, that's probably the place where God wants to meet with you. For many of us, our earthly fathers have disappointed us. And honestly, it has also influenced our perception and perspective of who our Heavenly Father is. We may not realize it, but subconsciously, some of us have struggled to see God as a loving Father. And in fact, some of us see Him as this guy with a big stick, ready to chastise us when we go wrong. And that's why we've struggled to receive grace, to receive love, the love of the Father. But I want to challenge you this week. Don't ask yourself whether your father has been a good father or a bad father. Ask yourself, which part of the BLESS acronym was the hardest for you to receive? Was it B, belonging, L, love, E, established, S, strengthened, or S, sent? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. And let's talk. If this has allowed you to reflect or impacted you, please do not forget to like, to share, and to subscribe so that more people can learn what you're learning. And it also allows YouTube to spread the message. Remember, subscribing is free, liking is free, and it also encourages me to know that this message is relevant for you. And until next time when we have our next lesson, God bless you and bye-bye.